Charles, we're going to discuss The Infirmed today.
I mean, that was a great, the art department once again has done a fantastic job capturing this crap weasel. I mean, you know, he goes, I guess I've been to several university commencements, and the ones that are good, I went to one at Fordham where that idiot sleazeball rat-catching son, Schumer, it was all about him. It was all about, nothing about the students. It was all about, I've done this and I've done that, and you know, it's like, dude, at a commencement speech, what you do is you talk about the bright future these graduates will have, and you give them, you share some of the lessons that you've learned, maybe at considerable cost, physical cost perhaps, or mental cost. You share those lessons in the hope that people who can't tuck in their shirt and walk too close to you.
Exactly. You got a whole sidewalk. Why is that guy? Let's go somewhere.
Well, let's go Broadway.
Yeah.
So, and apparently the idiot gets up there at Howard University, which I keep forgetting that Kamala went
she
there.
went there, yeah.
Yeah, and so he gets up there and he decides he's going to make the main theme of his speech is that America has a problem with white supremacy and systemic racism. And here's the white non-graduate of Howard giving a speech which, I suppose, if you wanted, you know, if you were really thinking it through, wouldn't you ask to give the speech? She went there. Maybe she collected an honorary degree, you know, to add to her set of credentials she doesn't deserve.
Do they feel like it makes it more white if a white guy says it?
I think
but
it's
also
ridiculous.
Simultaneous with that speech, they had this Patriot Front
Fake
group
thing,
marching.
yeah.
It looks obviously fake because,
Right.
first of all, why are they wearing masks? They're shouting the N-word more frequently than Snoop Dogg.
Right.
There is a video on Twitter that I saw where some person who is just like in the neighborhood, a black guy, walks by them and they start calling him the N-word and this and that, and they call him an ape. I mean, who would do that?
It's total crap. And at the same time, there was a story that I noticed and sent around that they claim it's the largest circulation media group, traditional media group in Europe, called one of the publications BILD, had been working on a big expose of the Albanian leader who supposedly may have sent money via cutouts to the Biden family. And the allegation in this article, Washington Examiner, is that Biden's White House just had the power to tell Bill, don't publish that article.
I don't doubt it.
Well, I mean, it's one thing, you know, what's that expression, when there's smoke, there's fire?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not just smoke here. I mean, there's
molten lava.
Right. I mean, you look at this geezer.
Charcoal briquettes.
You know,
a flamethrower.
Right, who did not campaign at all, really, in 2020.
Now, we're not in the First Amendment forum yet,
okay.
So
right,
we just need to be careful what we discuss.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking to you, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe inside.
So you're not invited to this conversation, knucklehead.
Yeah. So he's actually a very fit knucklehead, but
whatever.
Yeah. Well. So the point is that you know, you look at him and go back to whatever year you want to say he was in his prime, you know, wherever that year was. It certainly wasn't 2019 or 2020.
80s when he was rolling with the KKK.
Exactly. And, you know, it is crystal clear that he has never legitimately made any money in his life. Crystal clear.
Yeah.
And it's also, most people don't understand that the role of a U.S. Senator who chairs the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, that's a very, very powerful role, as is the role of chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So you make decisions. For example, in Foreign, Relations Committee, you decide who gets to go on the junkets in the Senate. You decide, you know, you're heavily involved in who gets to come, who gets favored treatment from the foreign leaders inside the United States.
That's how you get the best bribes, Charles.
Right, and you know, is it any? I mean, you look through the list of suspicious payments. I mean, I haven't seen any money coming, you know, allegedly from, you know, a person with a dot on his forehead from Wilmington, Delaware. It's all from, you know, foreign countries, and Nobody's asking about that. Then when it comes to the Judiciary Committee, you are deciding, if you're in the majority, you are deciding who gets put up to be a justice, maybe a Supreme Court justice. And, the way in which you handle that, you certainly can stay in touch with judges and their families and this and that. And people, before he got to be dumbass VP, he absolutely was in a position to either explicitly do things for people illegally, or to grease the wheel via intermediaries for people who contributed to his family. And so it's crystal clear that whatever governance mechanism is on the books, it's not being used here, right, for him.
Yeah.
It's being gamed.
I agree. That's very clear.
Now here we are, going back, 3 years ago, this was a fucking wasteland. Now it's just a place where you put your garbage across the street there.
Oh, yeah.
And some stores are out. Let's taco about it. Seems to be out. But garbage is in.
We're already on the second round of businesses that took over for places that closed in the pandemic are now themselves closing.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in the First Amendment Forum momentarily, Charles. Just at about 3:30, we will carry on there. People are going to be able to join us on Subscribestar and Patreon/Crowdsource the Truth, and of course on Odyssey.com/Crowdsource the Truth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. There's a lot to talk about, Charles. The RFK interview.
Well, I agree, but actually what I know you wanted to do, and I'll just remind you, because I monopolized the talking in the beginning, I know you wanted to join me in sending a special shout out to all the mothers.
Mother's Day, exactly.
And grandmothers.
Happy
and
Mother's Day.
Great-grandmothers. Probably not too many great-grandmothers around, but maybe.
There could be.
Yeah. And it's actually nice in the walk up to start this podcast, and now you'll see a lot of groups of people
having Mother's Day.
Having Mother's Day, taking mom out or grandmom out to dinner.
Probably it's a weed world.
Yeah.
That's the...
Not in this corner so much.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. Look.
What?
Did the Smith... Oh, no, that's the Smith down there. This is new here.
Cicconi's?
Isn't it?
There's a Cicconi's in, it's a common Italian name, but there's a very upscale Cicconi's.
Wasn't that the
let's
milk
walk quickly
bar?
through here. In London. It's one of the most expensive restaurants in London. It used to be Cicconi.
Oh, this is a new place here, Daydream. That's a big weed place. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good thing there's not a threatening collection of thugs hanging out over there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention that. So I was on the subway this morning coming back from somewhere and, minding my own business. Unfortunately, it was jammed full. And this crazy person with like a crazy outfit.
What an anomaly.
No, but like with orange Crocs or like banana yellow Crocs and this coordinated crazy quilt of clothes starts meandering, like coming right up to you and turning around and right past you and like going in your space. And there are all these kids and mothers and tourists or whatever.
Right.
And then he does like a pirouette and starts screaming in Haitian French,
oh boy,
off key, some stupid song, and then he kind of aggressively tries to get money from everybody and slams the door and walks out. But he was definitely, when you walk down the street and you don't know people, it's pretty risky to go up to a perfect stranger and go right in their face.
I would say,
and that's what this guy was doing.
Well,
we don't have the light.
It gives you a lot of insight into that individual's
lack of common sense. And what is he really up to? He's stirring up trouble.
Right.
And so...
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up because I noticed earlier this morning on Twitter, Madeleine Brame, who is the mother of that military veteran who was killed in the Bronx, and she testified at the New York House hearing, the weaponization of government hearing. Madeleine Brame is her name. And as I understood it, she's posted a tweet. She's on the subway up at like 129th Street or 149th Street, and she's saying that somebody was just on the train threatening everybody, and they were trapped in there for like 20
Right.
minutes, and she said there was no young Marine to protect us, and that she's feeling PTSD.
Right. You shouldn't have to worry in mass transportation. And more to the point, it'd be one thing if this were Mogadishu, and
Be nicer, you mean?
it's safer.
Yeah.
And in terms of spending, and we're spending as much money on government as they do on Mogadishu. Net of the bribes, how much money is actually spent in Mogadishu on police, on fire?
I hear they like cat.
Cat, yeah.
Isn't that a drug that they are constantly chewing on?
I think it's some kind of, not
It's like
exactly-
a leaf that
A
they
leaf,
chew
but you
on.
chew on it and it makes you absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And the starting point is stone cold crazy. But, so it's not like in this city, no money is being spent on government. It's a tremendous amount of money being spent on government.
Too much.
You can't be safe on the streets. Can't be safe at night. Increasingly, you can't escape when you go into a store. Beggars coming into the store,
Yeah.
begging for money right there while you're at the cash register.
But doesn't it stand to reason, Charles, that, people who would do this become emboldened when they
Sure.
see Danny Penny get arrested? They're like, oh, hey, see, we can do more of this.
Exactly. I mean, and this Alvin Bragg guy is a disgusting human being, honestly.
Well, there's supposed to be a grand jury next week that's going to hear these allegations. They've announced, Penny is being charged with second-degree manslaughter, which is going to require a determination that he acted recklessly. And when you read the statute, it's got a lot of language about being intoxicated. I think this is basically what they charge you with when you kill a stranger, like with your car or something, but you're drunk.
Right.
Because you're liable for that. That's reckless to go around driving while you're intoxicated, but it's not murder because you're not like singling out the person and saying, I'm going to kill you for XYZ reason.
Right.
So that's another problem we have, is that the mob mentality is people just decide we've invented new laws, this guy's a murderer, and we're going to give him capital punishment, do that, or we're going to destroy everything around in the city, and somebody else is going to suffer the death penalty. That's the mob mentality and the mob justice that we have now.
Again, there used to be attractions. There are always pluses and minuses generally, but there used to be attractions of living here in the city. It was convenient, it was thriving,
There were things you could buy.
like Sharif's famous halal food.
Well, what was here?
That specialized in selling brown paper.
Brown
basically.
paper store, right. They're doing well.
Right. And it actually used to be very efficient to live in cities. That's
Right.
where all the global governance people want you to pack you into cities, so you spread the cost of government out over a higher number of people, so per person it's less. Then now force us into tiny little pillbox apartments. But if you're not safe, and if there are rats in the streets and garbage strewn everywhere, and people are fleeing, employers are
Business
fleeing,
is closing.
and they're talking about soaking the rich even more to pay for government fools to burn your money, burn your grandchildren's money.
Well, I could just send it to Hunter Biden's grandchildren,
Exactly.
or Joe Biden's grandchildren. That's ridiculous that the baby, there's a 4-year-old who has a bank account.
Really?
One of the recipients of the money was one of the
4-year-old?
very young children.
Really?
I guess it's the one he's carrying around. They're not sending it to the one in Arkansas,
Is that right?
right? I mean, they said one of the kids. And definitely that wife, is her name Melissa Cohen?
Is that the wife?
The new wife. I remember when they got married, I was thinking, this looks like a fairly regular person marrying him. Who would want to marry a crackhead who you've got video evidence of all this hooker activity?
You put it together. We can go there.
She married him so she could get in on the grift and not testify.
Well, and you actually inadvertently married two things together with that observation.
What do you mean?
I had sent you John Kennedy's appearance at CPAC.
Right.
And it's a 17-minute laugh fest. I mean, he's really talking about what he believes in.
Yeah.
And he opens it up by saying, I believe that the founders are geniuses.
Yes.
And the people who run this country are idiots.
Yes.
And then he goes and he says, and to all those people, AOC and the like, who don't like cops, the next time you get in trouble and you need assistance, call a crackhead.
He's right.
He was funny. He is really funny.
What about the lawyer for Jordan Neely?
Let's get in the shade of it.
Yeah. The lawyer for Jordan Neely gave a speech the other day, and he reminded me of Jackie Childs from Seinfeld.
Right.
And he's like, oh, why didn't anybody ask this guy if he needed help rather than choking him? Like, who's asking some aggressive homeless person? Oh,
well, whose opening
help
statement
you?
is, I don't care if I go to jail.
Right.
I don't care that I'm just going to do something nasty. I mean, there's another guy like that who actually hangs out near where I live, and he waits for the peak tourist moment, and he goes out into this busy intersection expecting that cars are going to see him, and he's pitch black dark, and he's doing this at night sometimes, and he just starts ranting and raving about, my life is over.
Yeah, he probably wants to be hit by a car.
Right, and then he says, all I need is just $70. It's $70?
Probably for a hotel room.
I thought inflation was transitory.
Right.
But the point is, people used to ask for a quarter 30 years ago, then $1. Now it's $70?
That seems like a big increase.
And he picks this particular place. I don't want to give it away, but it's a place where a lot of naive foreign tourists, are sitting out in these tables in New York. I'm not going to say where it is.
I'm saying that's the place where naive foreign tourists are sitting out.
And they're like, all he needs is 70. Our plane ticket.
This will change his life.
Yeah, we'll give him 70, and I'm sure it's straight to Washington Square Park to get some whatever he smokes.
Right. It's terrible, Charles. And I mean, the fact that guy thinks that it's the public's obligation to take an interest in whatever a particular crazed person's malady might be, and there's his whole entire family who other reporting indicates that they threw him out because he was impossible to deal with. So why is it up to an individual on the subway if his own family doesn't seem to care about him until it seems like maybe they might be able to get some money from a contingency lawsuit?
Right, or GoFundMe.
Right.
GoFundMe.
Well, that's happening. And people are upset that Danny Penny is using Give, Send, Go to raise money. He raised $1.2 million bucks.
Good. Well, yeah.
So people can Google Give, Send, Go, Danny Penny.
Right. Well, and back at what you're saying, when you read up about addiction, what people tell you is, first of all, very few addicts make a full recovery.
Right.
But those who do typically will tell you after the fact that they're never ultimately helped if you continue to make it convenient for them
to access drugs
or alcohol, whatever is their poison, and that what they have to do is, quote, find bottom.
A lot of people have said that.
Well, that's sort of the accepted.
Come here, Shadow. Come here, Shadow.
Again, you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
You shouldn't be allowed to interact with those kids. You're crazy to let your kids play with a homeless guy and his dogs.
Well, that's why you come here. I mean, it's not like they say. I think what we're going to do is encourage all the sane people to go on vacation in New York City. It's like,
I don't think so.
I'm so pissed that ISIS is out of business. I was going to go try to find my husband at ISIS. Now I can't do that. Maybe I'll come to New York. Look at Washington, find a homeless guy. I'll, be the, what's that, Mary Poppins expression? The person who takes down on her luck girl and befriends that person. I'll do
supercalifragilistic.
Yeah, right. Not so supercalifragilistic right next to us. But
people are going to be wondering, why aren't you talking about
The Infirmed?
No. Something to do with that song. But we're not going to talk about it.
We didn't even bring it up. It's true. Calzedonia.
Is that a calzone place? Oh no, it's bikinis.
Italian legwear and banana boats.
Nothing to do with calzones.
That's right. Yeah, would you like some fake luggage? Sure. Can I pay extra for it?
Charles, RFK has been doing a lot of appearances. He was on the All In podcast. He was on Russell Brand.
I watched that.
And he's been saying a lot of stuff about the JFK assassination. I mean, he's kind of mainstreaming something that Tucker Carlson started talking about, which is this, I mean, a lot of people know this already, but his statement that the CIA was involved in the assassination of JFK. That was huge. We haven't spoken really about the Trump CNN thing, right?
That was massive.
We got to talk about that.
And the reaction to it was even funnier.
The reaction to it.
Say, go right through the light, no problem. It's like lights are suggestions. It's a red light suggestion to stop.
Right? And there's just, I got to make notes because I always have so many things in my head and then I forget them when we come out here onto the street. I know you were very excited that Sweden won Eurovision and
the
and
Queen
Zelensky
of
whatever.
Speak. Yeah. Zelensky was not allowed to speak. Not like that.
Who? What?
Zelensky wanted to address the Eurovision audience,
and they said no.
They said "fuck vous."
Why did they do that? I mean, I support that. He was hanging with the Pope.
I think there's more and more articles now that different polls in different countries and different groups of people are increasingly souring on this obvious shakedown artist.
They blew up a huge cache of ammunition, Russia did, in Ukraine, and they're saying that it basically, all this money that the United States send, they're just blowing it up.
Right? Yeah, it's just, again, you can't say, I refuse to compromise on the debt ceiling thing because I'm so responsible in the way I spend money, but I left all this crap behind in Afghanistan, and there's no accounting for what's happening with the stuff in Ukraine. There's never really been the type of deep dive into where the COVID money went, how much of that was stolen.
Well, I mean, part of the reason I think is that the media is essentially captured, and just at the moment that it seems like we might have an opportunity with Twitter, Elon Musk goes and hires this person, Linda Yaccarino, who it's not just that she's hanging with the World Economic Forum and she's got a tweet about this and a tweet about that. This person was the chairman of the board of the Ad Council, which is a 501c3. It's not a 170B6 or whatever it is.
170B1A6.
Not that, but it is a public charity. It's checked off the same box as Robert David Steele's charity, number 10. So it's a public charity. And the thing is, when you look it up on Wikipedia, it says it's coordinating stuff for a network of 33,000 media outlets, which, why did they write that? Why didn't they write over 30,000, nearly 35,000, 32,981, whatever the number is? It seems like this 33 shows up so frequently in places where we're already suspicious of whatever is going on there. And in previous cases, Charles, when people have had this big, huge public backlash, like when Bette Midler couldn't keep her stupid mouth shut about $8 a month, which, by the way, what the hell is she adding to Twitter? Who's going to Twitter like, what is Bette Midler
I care about her economic
saying?
advice.
Yeah, this is really adding value to me for Twitter. But, she and Stephen King got their underwear in a knot, and within a day, Elon Musk sort of intervened and was doing things that were remarkably interactive for a CEO at his level, but he's not behaving that way. This is probably the biggest backlash we've seen to any major decision that he's made, and he's defending her to the end, and even people who are sort of like fanboy Elon Musk people like Ian Miles Chong is all over there like defending it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, and then there's going to be people who are like, oh, you guys are idiots. How do you not see that Elon Musk is a lizard person who comes from the center of the earth and he's part of it? I mean, look, maybe that's the case, but
pretty much not.
Not that he's a lizard person who comes from the center of the earth, but he did do something very questionable. Turkey's had their election.
It's not over.
But they put some decree to silence tweets. I haven't seen the exact tweets, so. Well, what was written is that they're silencing the opposition to Erdogan.
Because Biden's backing the opposition, supposedly.
Backing the opposition to Erdogan?
Yes.
So, but wait a minute, but we don't want to silence people based on who's backing them.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's what I'm saying is ridiculous that we have a position, that Biden has a position on who should win a foreign election. It's none of our fucking business.
Well, we're going to have to talk about this in the First Amendment forum, Charles, because we're just about out of time here right now. Okay. So People are going to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Charles, there's so much insanity going on around us here. How could people
Jesus.
possibly miss a minute of this?